Hey everyone, welcome back to the Wimpy Studio, and today I'm here with a brand new video for you guys. We are going to be talking all about Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Wrecking Ball. This is the 14th book in the popular book series written by Jeff Kinney edition, and I'm here with my friend Akshay. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me on.
Okay, so we do this every week, and this week we are now officially caught up with the books. Next week we're going to be doing a podcast on the extras, which is going to include like the movie diaries and all those kind of things. And then the week after we'll be doing a ranking of all of the books, and then we'll get to move on to the movies. And then we'll have the new rally book to do content on. So we're gonna be good going up until then, and then we'll probably more like drop like an episode each month or something until the book 16 comes out. So that's kind of like the plan moving forward. So,
Yep.
Wrecking Ball. So I'm going to read the back and then we'll dive right into it. So, an unexpected inheritance gives Greg Heffley's family a chance to make big changes to their house, but they soon find that home improvement isn't all it's cracked up to be. Once the walls come down, all sorts of problems start to crop up. Rotten wood, toxic mold, unwelcome critters, and something even more sinister all make Greg and his family wonder if the renovations are worth the trouble. When the dust finally settles, will the Heffleys be able to stay, or will they need to get out of town? So, um, overall thoughts of this book. In a second, you can share yours, but for me, this had a very different vibe to it, something that Jeff Kinney has never done. I think that I enjoy the different vibe to it. I enjoy like the home aspect of it, and I think that they felt a little bit more like family members in this one than they did in previous books. It was very, as far as this is like. As far as I think, this started the unrealistic path that leads into the deep end. So like there's like a lot of like interesting stuff going on. Like and by the end, I was really confused as to what was going on. I think it had a good meaning behind it. I think it felt a little bit more true to the Whoopi Kid characters itself, and something I think he made it just different enough that it was still enjoyable. What do you think?
So yeah, I kind of agree with you. And even when we first saw the cover, the difference started from there. We really saw a big difference from the cover from like previous books, and I talked about this in the last podcast episode. But when we actually read the book, as Micah said, it's very different, and it just it kind of opened a new door in the Wimpy Kid world, and there was more characters than ever, as Micah said. But I think what really stood out was the plot line and the cover.
Yeah. So the cover, we can talk about that. This cover is very it's different. I think it's my favorite. It's like the wrecking ball, it's a different texture. Everything's pretty much a different texture. And I think that this is probably one of his best covers that he has ever done, and just looks like a mess. And I think that is what's supposed to be, because it's like house renovations and stuff like that. And I think that he did a really good job with this cover. And I mean, I personally think this is one of his best covers. Yeah, would you agree?
I think it is the best cover he's ever made because it just opens a whole new world, and it
Hmm.
just makes you feel like it's an immersive experience. I think that's the correct word.
Yeah, I feel like we've had different eras of Wimpy Kid. I think that 1 through 6 was one era, and then about 7 through 12 or 7 to 13 was another era. But for me, I think this one started a new era, and that is the dramatic side of Wimpy Kid, in my opinion. So I thought that he did a really good job with this one. So if we're gonna dive right in, pretty much, um, they want to make house repairs because apparently Greg's grandma has died or something, and the money gets sent to them. And they all have very different ideas on what they want the house to be. Like Greg has a plan, like a blueprint of everything he wants to include, like the roller skating arena, which is so great. Greg happily he only wants what's best for him. But I think that the idea of adding on a new addition, like I never had any experience when it comes to adding on like a bunch of house repairs. I mean, we moved a few times, but have you had experience with house repairs?
No, I mean I've just been living in this house ever since. I mean I've been living in this house forever. I haven't really moved ever. So, and we haven't. I mean, we painted our house once, but other than that, we haven't really gone through house repairs.
Hmm. Yeah. I feel like Greg and his family have lived in this house for so long that they needed to probably an upgrade. As far as I can tell, all of these houses are 2 story in a basement, it looks like, at least in the neighborhood. But I thought that there were some funny moments, specifically when Greg got, I'm not sure if you remember this specifically, but when when the wasps were in the hot tub. That was good. We unfortunately we don't have a hot tub. We really want one, and hopefully, I think I do notice that bees really like to be around wood. They somehow like that for some reason, and like that's probably why they're around the deck so much. They also had, as if we're talking about like the main villain for this book, and I thought that this was actually kind of funny. It's the grout. What do you think of that? I thought that was good.
Yeah, I thought it was a funny thing that Greg thought, and it was I get a good flashback to Greg's older life.
Yeah, I thought that it was funny because apparently he thought it was the grout one night, but it turned out to just be a lacrosse stick with a bunch of items over it. That was good.
Yeah, like a mop or something. Yeah.
Yeah. But I also like the idea of like the beginning of it, him and Raleigh are having a yard sale. I kind of like the idea of just having like getting new things and kind of putting like the past behind you a little bit. I think that by the end of this, we kind of like left it on a very uncertain note. If we're kind of like going through it, so they do get to the point where they are making the house renovations, and then it's all torn. It's all it was because like their neighbor, because she was mad because of the construction, and then like apparently their like measurements were like too close to her yard, and they had to sign the lady had to sign a formal order for them to continue construction, and she was like, no way, Jose. So then they chopped the whole house. They chopped the whole house down. So that ruined their hopes for a little bit, but then they started to think about moving. Now this is a topic that I just didn't I thought it was a good thing to explore the possibility of them moving. And maybe in book 16, since it's not a road trip, maybe they'll talk about that a little bit more. But like, did you ever think that they would like be ever move out of that town one day?
I didn't see it coming after all. I mean, especially after the meltdown, I thought it would like spark a new era in there in the Wimpy Kid world. I didn't think it would include moving,
Hmm.
but yeah.
Yeah. I think they're trying to make it. I think that they did a good job with the possibility because this book was very all over the place. It was a book that like it went back and forth so many times, but I think that it also had some very enjoyable stuff. And I think that I felt a little bit more I think I felt a little bit more true to the Wimpy Kid world than some of like the previous books, I would say, when it comes to at least like, I mean, I think that this one felt a little bit more. I would say that the meltdown what was too, but I think that this one did a good job of explaining like the Heffley side and the Heffley family and them coming together. And like I thought it was funny to see them butting their heads over renovations, but eventually, it comes down to everything being very, very dramatic by the end because apparently they do get to move, and apparently they're moving to a very, very nice house. Um, and but unfortunately, it turns out that long story short, the hot tub falls through their house. And that was a very good ending. I thought I was like, wait, so what's gonna happen next? Are they homeless?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of that?
It was an interesting cliffhanger, I have to say.
Yeah, and I still think I find it really funny that Roderick made it out alive because I just feel like I just it he would be the type of character that would slay through that whole thing, honestly. Yeah. So, but like the thing is that you think about one more thing I want to say before we end this is the Greg and Raleigh friendship in this book. Now, I feel like we didn't really when it comes to their friendship, the Raleigh side of books definitely explains their friendship more, especially the first one. So if you want to, the first Raleigh Jefferson book, The Awesome Friendly Kid, definitely focuses on their friendship. Nowadays in Wimpy Kid, we don't really see much of their friendship, and like now we've had three road trip books, so of course Raleigh can't like tag along for those. But I feel like this book had more of their friendship in it. Like I feel like Raleigh, his character is going to be less tough than Greg when it comes to that kind of news. So of course he cried, and like there was like some friendship moments in there, like when they hugged at the pool party and everything. I thought that they did a good job with having that friendship and kind of restoring it. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree, because especially in the more recent book, right before the Wrecking Ball came out, it was kind of like separating Greg and Riley a little bit. Like they were still friends, but it seemed like they were getting a little more distant. But after Wrecking Ball came out, it secured that gap.
Yeah, they're always going to have a close friendship, and I think that it was totally normal that Rowley would be upset about Greg moving. So I think that they did a really good job with restoring that friendship vibe again. But like the cliffhanger, this was probably the biggest cliffhanger that they've ever done when it comes to Wimpy Kid book. And like I gotta say, I was a little bit disappointed. If we're talking like after this and the cliffhanger because the next book's already come out. I was a little bit disappointed in how it wrapped up. I thought it was gonna be something even more dramatic, but they're just homeless. So like I don't know. I think that in book 16, I think they'll either get a new house or I think that book 16, the Heffleys are gonna be making a big change, in my opinion. And I think that he already said it's gonna be focusing more on sports. So we're just going to wait and see. Like this book, I thought they had a really good cliffhanger. I think I do really like the idea behind them doing house renovations. So I think I've covered everything. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that is specific to me talking about. Can you think of anything?
I mean, I think that's it.
hmm Yeah. One thing that I really thought was funny is that it was Greg's job to write like the description to post online for the house, and he wrote, and I quote, "4-bedroom house with 3 bathrooms, a nice neighborhood, house of former bank robber, possible gold/rare coins buried under floorboards." That was really good. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean that was a really good touch to the book.
Like it's only
Yeah.
Greg that would do that, and like the fact that you would, first of all, there's no descriptions online of that for houses, but like of course Greg would do that, but to make it more interesting, because Greg is meant to make things more dramatic, and I think that was a nice touch into the book. I also thought it was funny when Greg's mom was up when apparently Greg and his mom went in during the open house for their house, which to me that's something I prob people aren't at their open house. Like if you're selling your house, people mainly aren't there, but of course they were acting like customers. And like this like lady was like, this wallpaper in this room is so tacky, and Greg's one was, well, I'm sure whoever picked it out was trying her very best. I mean, I guess it's kind of understandable that her feelings would get hurt. It's still funny no matter what. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny touch, like all of the things that you've been stating.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah. This book I thought was funnier, had bet more funny lines. I think that this book, although it was very dramatic and super unrealistic, especially when it came to the end, not as bad as the deep end, because the deep end's the ultimate worst when it comes to that. But I think that they reached it, and by the end, I think that it was a little bit too dramatic for me, but I think that I enjoyed it well enough. And I would say that if we're talking in line here, I enjoyed this definitely better than the previous book. So I am going to give this book a solid A. What do you give it?
Yeah, A plus.
Yeah, I think this was one of the better ones, and I definitely prefer this over the deep end when it comes to the book. So,
But
yeah,
I
go
mean, standalone, the Deep End would still be a good book, but if
ahead.
you're like trying to incorporate it into the Wimpy Kid world, then it's not like fitting too much.
Yeah. I think that, yeah, and then we kind of like when we did our deep end review, we kind of use those two techniques, and speaking of which, Akshay has a YouTube channel called Real Time Fun. I'll put in the link below. He does Wimpy Kid reviews and tech reviews. And so yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll be back next week and we'll be talking about like the extras, like the movie diaries and things like that. And then the week after, we'll be doing our rankings and then we'll jump right into the movies. So yeah, thanks for joining me. And we will be back next week. So yeah, thanks
Oh,
for watching and bye.